Alrighty, traders, this is Blake Morrow, and you are listening to the Daily Roundup. Hold on, let me tell everybody in the chat room that I'm starting. As you guys can imagine, well, like, things get timed so perfectly around here. As I'm going to start the webinar, we have a pool service. Most of us that live in this neck of the woods in Arizona where it's hot, we all have, everybody has pools. I would say, if I had to guess, at least 60% of the homes have pools around here. So, everybody has pool service. I've been using the same people for, the last 8 years or whatever. And of course, they go to get in. My gates are all locked, so I had to go back there. It's just, anyway, it's a little the timing couldn't have been better. So I'm glad that you guys are all here. It's been actually a pretty slow session. Stupid crude oil came out and, just ripped up. And I was talking to Kim in the chat room just now and she about the move in crude. And it's the conversation that we had a little bit earlier today. If you're on the Face webinar, I had stops at break even, and you got to give it the opportunity, and it's not always going to work out. Like today was a great example where, I'd given the rest of this trade an opportunity to work, and it came up and stopped me out. And probably because of the way things work, it probably, because I just got stopped out of the remainder, it's probably ready to turn. It's probably, it was right up here at the 618, and it probably will do one of these, and we'll probably hit just above 39 bucks, and then it'll roll over after that. Like, and I was just telling the guys and gals in the chat room, it's probably like the last gasp, of course, but as frustrating as it is, crude has been crude has been very, very strong. And I would imagine that while we trade below 40 bucks, you got to still just consider being on the short side or looking for shorts. This is crude just intraday. And if you guys are trading crude tonight, I would look at it like this. 76% retracement, or 786 if you want to just do it like that, like this, something like that, okay? And then 161% extension would be right here, somewhere around here. So I think this would be, I'm probably going to re-enter on the short side of crude somewhere around here. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm looking for. So yeah, maybe a last gasp up to just above 39 bucks. Now, what has that done with the Canadian? So the Canadians come off, once again, hit that major downtrend line. If you guys are in the chat room with me, I've been picking it up on the long side twice today, just kind of scalping it on the long side. Excuse my dogs if you can hear my dogs, they're barking at the pool people. But as long as the dollar Canadian stays below 137, you got to be really careful being on the long side. I have to admit, it's holding up very, very well. It's holding up very, very well based on what crude's doing and based on what stocks are doing. That doesn't mean it's going to stay, but if it can hold around these levels and stocks give up some of these gains going into later into the week, I think the risk is the dollar Canadian breaks higher. I do, okay? But that doesn't mean that it's going to do it right now, and that doesn't mean right now is the time you want to be buying. I'm just saying that I think you've got to be prepared for an upside break sometime this week, sometime maybe even going into Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, so I've got an eye on crude, or eye on the Canadian. I think the Canadian's really set up to move. Let's talk a little bit about the euro. So the euro, really big rejection of the 618 retracement, or the flag top. If you guys were watching the ForexAnalytix analysis this morning, the update when the euro was trading at that 112.88 or is 112.82, I think is when I sent it out. It says, hey, the euro dollar is firmer today as Germany is offering stimulus measures, including a VAT cut, which got the euro dollar back to the 112.88, 618 retracement, but still in the flag, which is key resistance at the 113 level. So you knew that there was big resistance up here. The fact of the matter is we got swatted down pretty hard. So right now, I think it's really important to be very careful with euro longs at this moment. You know, can we make a run for 111.50? You know, before we make a move higher? Well, sure we can, or maybe even lower than that. I don't know if I'd necessarily want to be on the short side. I'm more prone to buying the euro on a dip. I'm hoping that we dip down towards 111.50 or maybe even 111. Then I'd like to be on the long side. But you know, right now it's kind of in no man's land inside of that flag. So unless you sold it up here, I don't think there's anything really to do with the euro dollar at this moment. Aussie is still, you know, challenging support. This is the, you know, the triangle support, still sitting at triangle support. Kiwi's not really doing anything. Most of the movement is in, you know, again, the Canadian, also the peso. The dollar mex actually held up really well. The dollar Mexican peso actually looks like we're going back towards 2023.50. It's going to be hard for the dollar mex to continue to go up if stocks continue to grind higher, though. So you might get an opportunity with the dollar Mexican peso to buy it back down here for the move higher, you know, to look like something like that. I would just keep an eye on the dollar Mexican peso because, like the Canadian, it's holding up really, really well despite the stock market being as well bid as it is currently. The last thing I want to talk about is the dollar yen. I don't know what's going on with the dollar yen. I mean, other than it, you know, broke the 38% retracement, and as I told you this morning on the Face webinar, we break that, we're going to squeeze. We did. You know, we broke the 107.50 and we squeezed almost to 108. And the dollar yen is not moving with any type of correlation. So I can't look at it and go, oh, well, stocks are going up, so I'm going to buy the dollar yen, or stocks are going down, so I'm going to short the dollar yen. I can't look at it that way anymore. I don't think we can. I'm not really sure how to analyze the dollar yen from a correlation standpoint. So like I told you over the week ahead video on Sunday, or I filmed it on Saturday, but over the weekend, is that you just got to look at it from more of a technical lens versus any other lens, like, you know, trying to figure out why it's going the way it's going. I think what's most important right now is just understanding how it's setting up technically and then trade it like that versus trying to figure out anything else. Nissim, you asked about crude. And you pointed out that it looks like it's doing a W. I'll just reiterate. I think it's doing more of a Gartley pattern instead of a W. And he says that crude is more clear. Yeah, I think crude is, and I think crude, like I said, if you can get a rally back up to 39 and change, this would This would offer a better opportunity to be on the short side up here, because from a risk reward standpoint, if you're shorting there, your stops are just above the highs, right? If like, let's say you're shorting it, let's just round it out at 39. If you're selling it at 39, stops are at 40 or just above 40. You're risking one to make, you know, a move back down to 36. So short at 39 to make a move back down to 36. Your risk is 1 to 3 for a counter trend move, right? So I think that's going to set you up for the better risk reward. Doesn't mean you'll make money, but I think that's the better risk reward trade, is to be on the short side up here, especially if you're in the camp that, you know, look, the U.S. economy is going to struggle on this reopening. You even saw the headlines. I'm sure you saw the headlines this morning regarding New York. New York is actually considering limiting its restaurants reopening. I think this is going to be a theme that we're going to see going all the way through summer and into fall. You know, I was talking to my nephew. My nephew is check this out. My nephew's 20 years old. All right. He's 20 years old. He's on unemployment. He filed for unemployment, and he's making, and I'm not exaggerating, he's 20 years old. He's making $700 a week on unemployment. That's a lot of money for a 20-year-old. And he's like, well, I don't want to, I don't want to go back to work. And if I go back to work, I'm going to just make, hardly anything. The question is, yeah, you're going to be on a lot of people are going to fall off unemployment soon, like at the end of July, in a month. Then they're going to be looking for work. Are employers even going to be hiring people back? I know they're struggling to find a few employees, but are they going to be back at full capacity? I really believe that the US economy is going to really sputter going into late summer, going into fall. And that's because of the virus, and that's going to be a problem, and it's going to be a problem for crude oil. And that's the whole reason why I'm bringing this up, is I think crude is a better setup for a short up here than it is a long, based on the prospects of U.S. growth from companies and workforce and everything else going into the fall. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. I hope that makes sense. And Resh says, get your nephew into trading. No, he actually, the funny thing is, you bring that up. He's asked to come over. The thing is he's young. He's 20 years old, and I'm just being perfectly honest. He's not as safe as us, who's looking out for a family. So he's asked to come over, to learn how to trade, and this is not the right time, to teach him how to trade. He really is actually. He showed genuine interest like a month ago. So anyway, Jason said also, if you guys provide educational videos for ForexAnalytix members to be able to view them for free, discount, or full cost, or do we? We've been planning, Jason, for a long time to do educational videos. It's finding the time to do it. We've always thought about doing them, and I have a bunch of content in the can, meaning I just have to go out and spend the 40 hours producing all of this stuff. And if I had an extra 40 hours to do this stuff right now, I would be doing it. And if it was a normal summer without a pandemic, I'd have been doing all that stuff this summer. But because the markets are staying busy, and because, let me just give you one last, this has nothing to do with the market, guys. I'm just kind of chatting around a little bit. If you're in the chat room, you already knew this. Like, I had to leave over the last hour. I had to go run an errand, and I had to go do some shopping, because we're dealing with such a big pandemic here in Arizona, and it's, obviously we're the epicenter right now of the pandemic. I have to do shopping around the masses. So it was early morning, and I actually had to leave to go do grocery shopping for the week for the family, and it's like, that's like a normal hour that I would have been trading or doing some sort of other ForexAnalytix work, where I have to do what I have to do. So anyway, it's what a time we live in, isn't it? Hey, for those of you guys that are listening in live right now, thank you all for your support. And remember, Jason, in the meantime, I'm here now. You may not have access to the chat rooms, but if there's anything that you're like, hey, I have a question about this, and how do you tackle this subject matter, ask, whether it's on the face webinar or whether it's here. I'll try best to answer your questions in the meantime. So guys and gals, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you all supporting us and supporting the community and being involved with the ForexAnalytix family. And for those of you that aren't listening, remember, take a trial. It's only $1 for 10 days. So then you can listen to all this live and when it's happening. All right, guys and gals, have a great one. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Oh, by the way, just so you know, Dale is not going to be on the face webinar the rest of the week. He actually has a procedural surgery to do, or it's like minor, but he's got to get it done. He's doing it this week, so he's going to be out. So I'm going to be on the face webinar tomorrow morning, kind of doing analysis like right from the get-go. So I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. All right, thanks guys.